Put on your bomber jacket and fire up your Fever Night Saturday soundtrack. It's GB Air Rally on Amigos, episode 379. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Amigos. I'm John.
And I'm Aaron.
And today, Aaron, we're going to be talking about GB Air Rally.
It'd be cool if it was the Bee Gees Air Rally.
That's why I said...
You should be flying high.
You got to put your Fever Night Saturday soundtrack on.
Oh, I see. I like that.
It's bizarre.
That was your gimmick. I wasn't paying attention to what you were saying.
You never listen.
I try to avoid what you're saying.
Are you a big air show kind of guy?
A big air show. I've been to one air show. So now I do like airplanes. I like planes, jet aircraft. Remember that horrible song from Jefferson Airplane? Yeah, no. Look it up sometime. But yeah, I do like a good air show. The problem is I'm perpetually afraid someone's going to get murdered.
Well, you know,
by hitting the planes together.
They had that go down in Dallas, I think, last month. There were two planes that collided midair, and I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy.
That happens all the time with these things. And the thing is, it doesn't. You know what I'm saying? It's like everybody's like, man, that guy got killed in the MMA. Yeah, it's happened like once in 30 years or whatever. But you think, oh, there's another one. Mm-hmm. I don't know how often it happens.
It's a risk you take when you're involved in some sort of spectacle like that. I'm sure it's a lot like the high wire acts at the circus, you know?
Well, sort of. But I mean, it seems like, I don't know, maybe they don't have as much control. But the last one, I saw footage of it. I mean, they just careen in each other. And you think to yourself, how does this not happen more?
Right.
You know, when I was I was flying into Houston back in the day when I was on a trip down there to Mexico, and as we're coming in, we're coming in for a landing. I'm just kicked back, and then all of a sudden it goes, and we shoot back up there. The pilot's like, "Man, sorry about that, everybody. Looks like someone else took our runway." And he was just real nonchalant. And I was like, my hands gripping like white knuckle, like, oh! And it's like, how does that not happen more often? I don't even know. So I guess I've almost taken the kid to a couple of these, but I get paranoid about it. Some of those planes, that fiery remain just hit the crowd.
Here's another thing. If you're not a big fan of crowds, you need to stay away from the air show because these places always draw like crazy.
Yeah, the funny thing, you ever watch footage of like the 20s or whatever? They'll be like, they'll be like doing something. They're like, look, it's the world's fattest panda, and they'll have one, and like 4 billion people come out of their hovels.
It's because there were no internet. There was no internet back then.
But the air show is one of the things that hasn't changed.
That's right.
It's one of the few things that still draws like every goof that can go up for 20 miles comes around, and it's you're right. They have them in Charleston, and they're always packed. I never go.
Yeah. Now, would you ever consider? I know you're not a big flyer, but would you ever consider mounting one of these little aircraft and racing them around?
Would I?
Yeah.
Well, I will say, not to give away the game too much, but it doesn't seem that tough. I was really killing it.
It doesn't seem that dangerous either. No. You always seem to survive.
I was doing great, so maybe I would. These were real things. I looked up a little information on the old air rally, we're talking about air shows, but they had these racing planes. I guess they still have them.
So this is a thing. People actually do this.
Yeah,
they race in planes.
It was a real thing that they race these planes around.
Really?
I wouldn't do that either. And you can imagine what was going on. Like it's like the 40s or 30s. You're out in one of these little cruddy planes. No, I don't think so. But they did it.
Would you rather be, if you were going to be some sort of a stunt man, like a Evel Knievel type?
Yeah.
Would you rather be a motorcycle jumper, or could you be one of these wing walker people?
Could I be one? Listen, how much do you value your wing? Because you really want me to go out and take a stroll with that sucker?
I guess most wing walkers are sort of on the petite side.
That's
I would say, yeah.
I mean, which way do I face for least wind resistance? We'd be dead in 10 minutes. No, I don't see. What was the other choice?
Like a Evel Knievel motorcycle jumper type guy.
I would probably go with the motorcycle jumper. The thing is, because you could jump something small on a motorcycle. Like, Evel used that big old Harley, the big monster. I'd get one of those and then just jump a puddle or something.
Set up a ramp outside on the road.
Because he jumped the fountain, that big, huge fountain in Vegas. He mauled himself. You see the slow motion footage. His limbs are all getting destroyed. You can see it happening. And so I'm thinking to myself, well, I can't jump a fountain like that. But maybe turn one of those kids' water fountains sideways. And
there you
go over that.
You could jump your pool here in the backyard.
That's right. Well, no, that's too big. That's way too big.
But if you miss it, you just land in the water. That's the key.
Well, the thing is, it's empty. And also the water that's in it's rather
Did you drain your pool?
Yeah. What do you think? It just left it out there full all winter?
I figure that's how you maintain it.
Listen, because we live in West Virginia, we don't have to act like hillbillies. I drained my pool.
Okay.
Good Lord. Which one would you pick? I can't imagine you getting on the side of a plane.
I don't know. I feel like wing walking might be a little bit safer because you are bolted down. You know, you're not actually walking out there. Like you're bolted down. You've got bolts over your feet. And you just stand up and you kind of dance.
What do you mean you got bolts over your feet? What's that mean?
Yeah, like when you're a wing walker, like you're not. It's not as if you're like doing the cha-cha, you know, out on there.
What does keep those guys on?
And so what happens is they stand on a thing and there's like staples. You know, there's these things that you set your feet into, and then when you're up there, then you just kind of.
But it seems like if they hit some turbulence, couldn't you violently fly off the plane?
I think that's why they don't have wing walkers.
Do those guys have parachutes and stuff on, or they just walk out there with nothing?
The ones that I've seen don't seem to have any sort of safety equipment.
Yeah. It's like pole setting and that stuff. Like you don't do that.
Yeah.
That was dumb.
I'll tell you what you don't see anymore either is the old plate spinners. Remember?
Yeah, you do. In every circus and acrobatic show, there's always some goof spinning those plates.
Really?
Yeah. Haven't you ever seen that guy? Chinese acrobat.
Because I remember like on the old, like sometimes I watch the old Ed Sullivan shows and stuff. They always have a plate spinner on there.
How did you make the leap from wing walking to plate spinning?
I'm talking about, potentially hazardous activities.
Far less deadly. The deadly part's when you're up there spinning plates and you break a bunch and the Eve comes out there to kill you. Then you got problems.
That's true. Aaron, I think it's time we've left.
Yeah, let's get the heck out of here.
We left the reservation a long time ago. It's time to talk about this week's Amiga news.
Yeah. Man.
All right, Aaron, we have an update here on this Kickstarter we talked about last week.
That's right. We got to get into it again, folks.
Stephen Jones and his what would you call this Kickstarter, Aaron? Because you're not kickstarting a monitor exactly.
Well, I mean, it's part of a monitor. Mm-hmm. You're getting by part of a monitor. Now, listen, when we covered this a couple weeks ago, last week we sort of skimmed past the news for the most part. I think we just didn't get any gathered up. This week, we're hard into it.
And
I wanted to do an update because this thing's got 15 big days left. And I'm not going to lie to you. When I saw what Stephen Freight Change Jones was asking for here, I thought there's no way he's getting over $250,000 US bucks. Mm-hmm. Right? That's a 0% chance. But now, because the power this guy's got, the jack, the credibility, they're almost halfway to the house here. $112,955 out of the possible $255,000. Pretty impressive with this. I've had a lot of discussions with people about this monitor here, the retro style modular IPS display, and some people are down. Some people are. I know some people that actually put their money down on this. So, good luck. I mean, I guess, and I hope if it gets funded that the second part of the funding goes as smoothly as it can.
Yeah, no, I think that was what we didn't quite understand when we talked about this before. So break it down for me, because I'm not sure I understand.
Well, when you buy the monitor, you get no LCD panel.
So you're buying the shell.
You're buying the shell. And
are you buying the GBS board for the back?
I think you're getting one of those or two of those. I'm not 100% sure how that goes, but you're not. The main thing is you get no screen with the monitor, so you're basically getting a plastic shell.
Okay.
And I'm looking at the pricing here. I think you're a $269 reduced. So you get the white, the 270.
pounds. Yeah, $330 US.
That's right. So for $330 US, you get this, and then this is all. His plan was then it's sort of like a payment. Mm-hmm. Then they're going to take all that wad that they make, and they're going to use it to figure out what the LCD panel situation is going to be. He's got some ideas or whatever, and I know some of these have gone out in the wild and people have tested them or whatever. But I don't know how you could call it testing when you don't know what you're going with. Mm-hmm. It's all weird to me, But
so when they do find the panel, is there going to be a second Kickstarter that funds the panel?
No. The second Kickstarter, you pay them the money.
Okay.
Paying them.
But
now,
you don't know how much that extra money is going to be yet,
right?
I mean,
if it was me, all right. If I don't know, if I had a lot of cash just lying around,
right.
I would buy this. I would just go find my own. I would just go source my own freaking LCD panel. I got tons of 4x3 monitors in here, so I don't even. It doesn't bother me. But I guarantee I could find one. If I could put a monitor in that 1950 television, I could find one for anything.
Sure.
It's impossible not to find one. But the second payment will be whatever the cost. And I guess he's going to even have different varieties of screens, maybe. The thing is, the way it was pitched is that some of these some of these blades that go in the back, the different I/O boards.
They call them pods.
Pods, thank you. They're going to have different abilities, but a lot of that depends on the frequencies and some of the LCD panels that they end up getting and what their abilities are.
So you're saying there's still a lot of unknowns.
There is a lot of unknowns. There's a lot of unknowns. So if you're feeling froggy, and you're like a gambler, or if you've gotten one of Steven's other projects,
like a checkmate,
and you're like, listen, this guy's solid gold money. Or if you're trying to complete like a set or whatever.
Right, you want to have a nice looking monitor for your checkmate
But I
case.
will say, and with all due respect to Steven, I did not think this would even get this far. So that shows you the kind of jack that he's got in the community. So I thought we'd have a look at that. And I also want to mention, just while we're here, congratulations for the Retro Hour guys. They did, in fact, get their book funded.
Yeah.
So they're in the black, brother. So congratulations, boys. All right, Boat, let's move along. What do we got here?
Yeah, so as you know, we are on year number 8, I believe, of Amigathon.
Yeah.
And this is our yearly charity marathon benefiting Children's Miracle Network. In the past, we have always done these in June. It's always been a summer event, or July,
yeah,
or even August, I think. It's always been in the summer. However, Boat Fest has turned into an annual event. There will be much more.
At least there'll be 2.
At least there'll be 2. So there'll be much more to come about Boat Fest in the coming weeks. But because of that, we want to not overcrowd our summer with activities. So we are moving Amigathon back to February. February, a month where not a lot goes on, not a whole lot going on.
Cold.
Yeah. And so why not hunker down, get yourself a nice cup of cocoa, cuddle up with a blanket.
Yeah.
And watch us play Amiga games for about 12 hours.
Yeah, this should be good.
Saturday, February 18th from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. We are opening. The donations are not going to open until the first of the year, but we wanted to put that out there for people to get that on their calendars. We always get a nice turnout. It's always a real fun time.
Yeah.
And it's going to be happening.
Yeah. Listen, we had let's just take it to the house here. Last year we had Boat Fest, and then we had a turnaround was like limited.
Yeah.
On the Amigathon, and we talked about this even then. We were like, man, we didn't really think this through.
Right.
I know that's a stunning revelation, but we didn't think it through. And so we thought, yeah, it's going to be just as easy just to move it around. Plus, we have like an event now we'll have a big event in February. We'll have a big event in June. We'll have a big event in November. So they're kind of spread out like that.
What's our big event in November?
Thanksgiving Marathon, brother.
Yeah.
Oh, man, how soon we forget. It was just last week.
I know.
So I like it. It'll be a lot of fun. We always have a good time. And we'll get a little bit more time to spend pondering what we're going to do. Although I thought last year was super fun.
I think we're going to do what we did last year, which is sit around and play Amiga games.
And I want to listen while we're here. We want to thank everybody that donated last year. Do you remember we got a chip for how much money being raised? Do you remember what it was?
Oh, we've sold over $10,000.
Over $10,000. And I say we because we're just the suckers basically holding the tin cup. We appreciate everybody digging in. We know this was kind of a quicker turnaround. So, again, anytime we do something like this, don't feel like obliged to throw money around, but it does go directly to the Children's Miracle Network. We'll talk more about it when the day comes, but this gives you a little bit of lead-in time.
That's right.
So, it should be a lot of fun. I even had fun with the Brent. So, I know I'll have a lot of fun with you. And we actually had fun with the Brent when we did it last time. So, that was a good time, Boat. Let's move along here, Boat, and talk about the new Doug video, Tin Mark, our boy. Did you happen to watch this?
I did. I watched this.
Holy smokes, you watched this?
I watched this, and I'll tell you, well, I didn't actually watch it.
I was getting ready to say, I can't believe it.
This came up on my feed last week, and I was sort of feeling tired. It was in the middle of the day. I felt like bedding down for a little nap.
Yeah.
Okay. And I thought, this is a Doug video. I might as well put this on. And I'll tell you what, not only did I not go to sleep, but I ended up listening to the entire thing and learning a lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
You did?
So this is about a RAM expansion.
Yeah.
Okay. This isn't the kind of thing that normally lights my internal fire.
It's the gotta go faster, spelled cool guy style. Look at Listen, there was a particularly cool fellow
Yeah.
that put that together faster with a 3 and a Z.
When they put the Z and the 3 in there, you know it's
gotta go faster. 256 megabyte Zorro 3 card. Listen, how could this not be riveting?
Yeah. So it's interesting because Doug talks about why you might actually want to put 256 megs of RAM in your Amiga.
Yeah.
He immediately slams you and me.
I know.
Immediately.
I know. He's like, I'm not just playing. This is most Amigas don't want to just play games.
Right.
I got that too. I was
Right.
like, we do.
Right. And so, but then he talks about how when you're working with images, it requires a lot of RAM because these images unpack in RAM.
Yeah.
Even if they're uncompressed, they uncompress more.
Yeah. Valid point.
In
point,
RAM.
Doug.
And he goes on to talk about the Zorro card. I didn't realize that Zorro cards were not keyed. This seems to be a dumb decision on the part of Commodore.
Yeah, I've heard people that have run into trouble.
Yeah.
With the old Zorro slots. But what are you gonna do? It was new that no one had ever invented a slot like that.
That's true. So anyway, Doug, he gives it the thumbs up. He goes in, he puts it through its space. It does give you all of that memory.
Yeah.
So if you are looking for a memory expansion for your big box Amiga, this is probably a good way to go.
You know, here's the thing about Doug. All right, I'm gonna put Doug over, right? Because, like, a lesser man doesn't get this video over.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of everything else, a lesser man, they can't just drop the hammer on all the Amiga gamers and literally skip away laughing.
Right.
But Doug's intelligence is so vast. His knowledge is so comprehensive
Mm-hmm.
that not only can he laugh at you, skip away, then he can tell you why you're dumb and you agree.
That's true.
So if you can get that over, you're all man, Doug. So yeah, check this out. Listen, if you're an Amiga person, you gotta go see Doug. He's always got it going on, bud.
All right, next up, Aaron, we got some gaming news.
I haven't seen this one.
I know you're a huge fan of the film Last Action Hero.
It stinks.
Even I, connoisseur of trash, thought this was pretty dumb.
Yeah, I did like the guy with the contact lenses. That's the only good part. Remember that with the happy faces?
So there is an enhanced hack version of this. Hack is the opportune word here that has been coming out, and you can
this picture. Is he being victimized by a cheerleader?
It looks
What's going on here?
it's the mean streets.
He's being menaced by a cheerleader.
One of the village people and a cheerleader.
I like there's a guy with an axe and a biker hat. He's running from the cheerleader.
Yeah. So this is Amiga Live actually put this together. Which is why it caught my eye, and there are some different things that he's done to enhance this game. So if you're a fan of The Last Action Hero, you can check this out, and
you know it's gold.
Yeah, Psygnosis did it.
So you're telling me Amiga Live is also like a hack guy?
That's right. That's right.
He does it all. I had no idea, by the way, when the dome's involved. Do you remember, have we ever played this?
We have not done Last Action Hero.
If we do it, we're going to definitely play the upgraded version, right?
Yeah. Look at this. He's beating up the cheerleader.
That doesn't look too. It's pretty. I mean, it doesn't look too bad. If I just saw this,
it's definitely got the trademark Amiga. I don't know how to walk main character.
Well, it's probably this is why you NTSC this thing all up. You got to crank it up. Look at that guy. He's strutting down this. That's the way I walk. This doesn't look that bad to me.
No, it looks good. So anyway, you can check that out over at indieretronews.com. Some of the changes include unlimited continues, selectable lives up to 9.
Yeah.
Your health is 100% restored with all food types, and increased move speed. So this is faster.
So he made this boat and air compatible. We don't have to worry about that, losing.
That's right.
Sounds good to me.
That's right.
Well done, Amiga Live. Thumbs up. By the way, check out Amiga Live over at Amiga Live. He's the man over there. Well done. That's neat.
All right.
I'm excited about that. It's the last.
Well,
I'm gonna try that.
So now we have your daily dose of Chris Edwards. Now,
man,
Aaron, I have not watched this, but I figured that you did.
I did watch it, of course. I did watch it. This is, there's not a ton to this one. The thing that I found out today that is far more interesting.
Chris Edwards lives in an immaculate house.
That's what blew my mind. Did you see that picture of his shelving area?
I could not believe, because normally when you get a guy that's got a setup like this, you figure he's going to have his life is going to set up like this.
Yeah.
But no, Chris Edwards leads a double life. He's one of Marie Kondo's greatest disciples, as well as being a Commodore genius.
Yeah, and so this is basically exactly what it says it is. It's the A4091 SCSI 2 adapter. I will say, he unpacks this thing, And whoever put this together, they knew their shtick. Because look at that manual and stuff. It looks just like the old.
It literally looks like it was like a legit Commodore product.
And he said it even had the heft and the gloss you would expect from an item. Now, he also goes on to say that this board here, apparently he badgered and cajoled his way into getting a special colored board. Cool guy color, purple, royal purple.
Yeah.
He's a big Prince guy, I believe. And so to what you're looking at here, if you're watching the video version of this is the SCSI car in all its glory. It's got a gimmick there where you can strap the drive to it. You know, looks nice, man. And he, puts it through its, looks through all the gimmick. I don't think, as I recall, this isn't the video where he actually installs it. This is the unboxing video. So, but yeah, good stuff as always. And I like the fact that he, when you've got the kind of jack that Chris Edwards has got, you can strong arm suckers into doing your will. And that's what he did. We don't have any of that, do we?
Says it's $225.
Is that a good deal for a SCSI card? I mean, I don't know.
Sure. I'm saying it is.
Who's using SCSI anymore, in all honesty? Does anybody use it? When was the last time you had a SCSI drive in your hand?
Well, I tell you, I could have used one. I was trying to get some stuff off a zip drive the other day.
Yeah.
And I ordered a zip drive off YouTube, or off eBay, the old untested special.
Yeah.
Guess what? It didn't work.
Well, what, did they say it was untested?
Yeah, they said it was untested, and they said no return.
Well, why did you think was going to happen?
Because it was only $20, and the rest of them were like $100.
See, what you need to do now is you need to unfurl your strong arm and ship this to Chris Edwards and say, listen, I want this fixed, and I want the color changed.
I already ripped it apart, destroyed it, and threw it away.
You mean you tried to fix it?
I tried to fix it.
But you're an inept oaf.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
man.
It didn't go well.
Well,
it did not go well.
By the way, Chris Edwards is in the chat. He says that he uses this thing for the SCSI to SD. That does make sense.
Okay.
I'll give you that. All right. So that's why we're not doing this.
That's what you got one of those in your old IBM XT, right? Don't you have some sort of SD gimmick that works from SCSI?
It didn't work. It didn't work, so I gave up. I ripped it apart too. That's what I do too.
Super Delivery Boy, Aaron.
Oh man, I've been this guy.
Has got an update here. And before you click into the video this time, let's actually read about what it is. This is, of course, a game. This is a platformer, if you remember, that has, it's sort of like, what's that, UGG? Remember UGG?
Yeah.
Okay, so picture UGG, except instead of picking up and dropping off people, you're picking up and dropping off presents to people.
Oh, I see.
So it's sort of that space taxi type thing. And this is a new holiday shift update. This gives you a persistent high score. It gives you an improved menu screen and a couple bug fixes. This is, of course, one of the big hits of the Amiga OCS ECS scene that's happened here lately. And I think that I'm going to be checking this out, and I'll tell you why, because this is a game that's right up my alley.
So this was a game that existed before now, but this is the special Christmas edition.
This is the Christmas edition, and like I said, it has some updates, some bug fixes, but that persistent high score, I always appreciate games that do that.
It does look cute.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. It's got all the hallmarks of stuff you like.
It does.
Little platforms, little cutesy little freaks.
Yep.
Rolling head for some reason. There's down there. So
heads will roll.
This looks a lot easier than UGG, too.
Yeah.
And UGG was really tough.
Yeah.
Space Taxi ain't easy. That's tough.
So anyway, you can...
Look at the background, too. Very pretty.
Yeah, it's got the gradient special. So nice. You can check out Super Delivery Boy and the update. Thanks to Saberman for putting up this YouTube and, of course, Indie Retro News.
Yeah, very good. Good one, Boat.
All right, Aaron, our final story. Have yourself Amiga Christmas.
Oh, man.
The new issue of Amiga Addict has been released, and it's a banger, as the kids say.
You're using the jargon?
I am. You know what else kids say?
I don't know.
They say it slaps.
Really?
Like, I heard a kid say, man, pepperoni rolls slap.
Really? He's not wrong.
It was pepperoni roll day at school yesterday.
Yeah, I heard they were under par at Hurricane.
They were not under par here.
They were too small.
Oh, they load us up at Winfield.
Listen, I think this is straight up fire. I'm going to use it. I got something.
I like it. I like your words.
It's Amiga Addict, and it's got that. You're right, the man. Now, let's discuss this for a minute.
Yeah.
We know Paul Kitching, who also did a couple of our backdrops because he's a heck of a guy. He worked in film, and here he is back again with the Amiga Addict cover. I don't know, what if this is the first one he's done? You figure?
Yeah, that's a great question. Because, I don't know.
He could probably draw one every month if you want to, because they're all gold.
Yeah.
Now, I looked at this beautiful holiday. If you're listening at home, it's a desk with an Amiga a monitor. In the background, you got a Christmas tree. And I thought to myself, what a beautiful, blissful scene. Now, what's the first thing you saw, Boat?
Can of baked beans sitting beside the Amiga.
Can of baked beans. And tell the people at home what you asked the Discord the second you saw this.
I know that the British people have a somewhat unhealthy obsession with Heinz baked beans.
Is it specifically Heinz?
Yeah, it's specifically Heinz, and you put the beans on toast. Beans on toast, it's a thing.
All right. Weird.
Okay?
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah.
So
they like a lot of weird food.
But I have never seen anybody eating baked beans right out of the can. Because baked beans come in a can, then they don't come hot. You know, I'm like you. I'm not the world's biggest fan of baked beans.
Yeah.
I think they're kind of nasty. But if I want to eat baked beans, they got to be hot. They got to be piping hot.
So they don't warm them up.
Well, that's what I was asking, because how are you going to warm up a can of baked beans in the can?
It's real simple.
What do you do?
Have you ever warmed anything up in a can?
No.
What you do is you pop the top, you sit on a burner, you let it sit there for a while. Then
really?
Yeah, and then you're done.
I've never done that.
It's metal.
Yeah, but how are you going to grab it?
What do you mean? You get you what do they call those gimmicks? Pan holder, pot holder gimmick, and you just hold that thing.
And then what are you doing?
And if you're particularly manly, you just grab it. You start chucking it down.
True.
It depends how hot you want
What
it.
have you heated in that way?
Nothing. Oh, no, that's not true. I think I did some dip one time. I remember doing some dip.
In a can?
In a can. You should better get dip in a can. You know, I don't mean like tobacco. I mean like, for chips.
Like the thing that the Chud makes all the time.
But people eat beans. You remember Dusty Rhodes, his famous speech?
Hard times, brother?
No, he said, I wined and dined with kings and queens and sat in the back alley eating pork and beans.
That's a great line. Did he write that?
Rhodes. Yeah, Dusty Rhodes. Of course he did. He's Dusty Rhodes. So I don't like beans. I used to have those pork and beans.
Yeah.
And remember, those weren't good either.
Beanie weenie?
I don't like toast all that much.
Really?
I mean, it's okay, but it's not like I'm sitting around like, man, I can't wait to spread beans on toast. Why don't you not put something better on the toast?
You figure you got toast, you got to do
jam or something, or a piece of bologna.
Well, I think that beans on toast that's like the main course in Britain.
Spam? Listen, Spam's got a bad rep. That's good eating.
I don't mind Spam at all.
No. What about Venus sausages? Those are good eating.
I do kind of mind those.
What's
those
the problem?
They're a little bit
those
nasty.
are tasty. And you get the barbecue flavored ones, man, you're good to go.
No. What about treat?
Yeah, you can do treat. Now, what I don't like is that spreadable meat. What's that stuff called?
That's pate.
Is that what pate labelle?
That's what pate is.
Is that what that is? I'm not down with that. I don't want to spread the meat. You know, that's not good. I mean, that's
me neither.
That's a little tidbit. So don't ever ask. You know what I'm saying? That's Merry Christmas, everyone, from Amiga Addict. It looks great. I can't wait to read it. It's got the little disc there. Mm-hmm. I think it looks dandy.
It does.
We've got so many people in our Discord that work on this.
That's right. Pixels at Dawn, editor-in-chief, and of course, Jonah Naylor, the man behind the mag.
Yeah. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
He's a man of many talents. I believe his keyboard gimmick is coming down.
And also Pixel Addict, their latest issue just dropped. So there's a lot going on. It's never been a better time.
Look at all the people in the community that are good writers.
Yeah.
You know, they got books and magazines, you know. We should put out a pamphlet.
Yeah, or maybe a flyer.
We can talk about the various types of meat you can put on toast. That's for Christmas, everybody.
You're welcome.
That's all you need. Man, are we done with the news yet? My God.
We're done.
Let's get the heck out of here.
It's time to talk about Retro Rewind, Aaron.
Oh, man. I love Retro Rewind.
You know, we were just talking about what happens when you put in a Zorro card backwards.
It's called boating it up.
Yep.
That's what it's called.
That's right. First thing you do is box that bad boy up and send it to Frank.
Let me tell you something. If you had an Amiga 4000, if you just touched one, I would send it to Frank.
Yeah.
Just to be on the safe side.
Just to be on the safe side. Listen, if you have a Commodore computer and you would like to upgrade it with hardware or software, or if you have a broken machine, there's no place better to send it to than Retro Rewind, and you can find them at RetroRewind.ca. They are a full-service supplier of parts, software, and hardware for your classic Commodore and Tandy color computers, and they have a crack staff of repair team members that will fix any problem, they'll right any wrong, and they will do it for a song.
I just saw that one of the Discord members has just picked up the Coco SD. The funny thing is, he doesn't have a Coco yet, as for what I read in the thing. So that's now you're halfway home.
Yeah.
The Coco's actually you get that because it used to be where you couldn't get the Coco SDC.
Mm-hmm.
Frank came along, bam. Now everyone's getting them.
Everybody's
they don't have a Coco.
Yeah.
If you need something fixed, right? Frank and his staff, he's got what? several decades of experience, and he's got top quality machinery to take care of your business. Listen, we don't just say this crap. We saw it, brother. He worked on my Vectrix. He worked on computers. Him and Jason worked on computers from morning, noon, and night at Boat Fest nonstop. And everyone came out of there smiling.
Yep.
They were happy. Their computers were glistening in the evening sun. It was glorious. This is the kind of power that you can get from RetroRewind.ca.
That's right. And you can save 10% off any purchase at Retro Rewind by using the promo code Amigos10 at checkout. We thank Retro Rewind for being an official sponsor of Amigos.
Right on, brother.
Aaron, let's talk about GB Air Rally.
Right on.
You know, Aaron, we were talking about mall organ music a couple weeks ago.
If the low theme from GB Rally doesn't fire you up, I don't know what would. You have got to get excited when that kicks on. You know, it's like the old Green Acres thing. Remember that guy used to come out? Remember that weird noise? Like, what makes that noise? It's like they're squeezing an animal to get that sound to come out.
It's
like
the
a
power
weasel.
of the polish head.
That's right, man.
Can simulate the sound of a squeezed weasel. So,
that's it.
Tell us about GB Air Rally, won't you, Aaron?
I will. You know, I will say I first stumbled upon this when I was streaming. It hasn't been that long ago either. Someone was like, "Hey, play GB Air Rally," and I was like, "Okay, what's that?" And I was like, "Holy smokes, this looks interesting." This came out in the early daring days of the Amiga.
Early release,
1987, and really, people are like, "Oh, the Amiga came out in '85." Maybe, sorta, but there wasn't anything out for it. And in '86, they were blindly stumbling. I didn't know what was going on. So we're at '87, it's the first year you got everything to talk about. Yeah. So this is an early gimmick here, published by Activision, sort of developed by Activision. It was designed by Steve Cartwright and Gene Smith. I looked into these two guys because I'd heard of them. Gene Smith, responsible for Bar Games. You know, one of my personal favorites, Boat. He also did a Little Computer People in Amiga and Shanghai.
Wow.
So not a bad lineup there. Steve Cartwright. Now I'd heard of him too. These are Activision guys, so they're sort of legendary. On the Amiga, he did Altered Destiny, Fast Break, and the Hacker games. Remember those Hacker 1, Hacker 2? I always wanted to be good at those, but much like real hacking, I was more of a poser, basically, or the dumpster diver. That's all I could do. The design artist was Mike Nowak, and the music from Russell Labich. Now listen to this guy. I like to look up what music this guy's done. This guy's an old Intellivision guy.
Oh, okay.
So get this, see these names, and among other things, right? He worked on Utopia. Remember that? Snafu, Night Stalker.
Yeah,
love
those are the heavy hitters on the Intellivision.
Then you got he worked on Transformers. He worked on Little Computer People and Mech Warrior. Remember Mech Warrior, which is cool? This was produced by Terry Ishida, who also worked on DOS. He worked on Mech Warrior, Death Track, which are two of my favorite games, F-14 Tomcat and Ultima Prophecy. So it's a pretty deep. It's not like these guys just staggered in. These are like some established guys. Right. You got Activision here, who had already been in the 8-bit world for a while. So they had a clue as to what they were doing. They brought some top talent in. Of course, this is an OCS release because this was basically made for the Amiga 1000. This got ported. I saw they didn't know what the lead system is on this game. I would wager it was not the Amiga. I would wager it was one of the 8-bit machines because most of the machines this got ported to were 8-bit, including the Amstrads family, the Commodore 64, the ZX Spectrum family, all got this game.
Well, it would be interesting because it could be that way, or this could be another situation like, what's that Cinemaware game, Defender of the Crown, where the lead program was the Amiga, and then they went down the hill.
It could be. It could very well be. Now, I want to talk about, before we get into the game proper, and I don't know if you did this or not, and you can see I highlighted this in my notes. Did you look at the docs for this game?
No.
Okay,
no,
I did.
didn't.
You blew it. And I'll tell you why. The documentation for this game is like given to you in a box like a newspaper.
Oh, okay.
Like an old-timey newspaper. And when you open it up, it's got all these articles about about airplanes and zeppelins.
So it puts you in the right frame of mind.
And, oh yeah, it's real good. It's real good. And then they've also sprinkled in like, how do you load it? How do you do this? But it's all part of the ambiance.
I love that.
I mean, that's smart.
Yeah.
And the thing is, coming off like the 8-bit line, where that stuff was more important back in the day. You sort of had to like spice things up, you know. And so I appreciated the documentation in the game. So GB Air Rally is basically a game where you fly a plane in the GB Air Rally. And Air Rally is sort of like a motor rally, except you're flying planes around a course. The planes go about 250 miles an hour. And this game, according to the box, has 16 courses. And it's got 3 different skill levels. And so it ends up adding up to 250 variable courses between the skill levels and the various courses available. This starts up with that kind of a wacky tune. It kind of gets you in the mood with the old-timey looking intro where you've got the kind of fades in like an old-timey black and white movie. It's got that scenery you would expect in like the roaring 20s, the 30s, you know, where you would have that everybody's got the big mustaches and the ladies have the stuff you would think you would have at a speakeasy. They look like that.
Flapper girls.
What did you think about the setup for this?
Yeah, the setup is great. I wish that I would have looked at the docs. I looked at the lemon.
It's killing you, isn't it?
I looked at the lemon docs, and I don't remember seeing anything special.
Well, you get
so I should have gone on the old Hollow Light. But this game sets the stage well. It sort of reminds me of what I thought Stunt Car Racer would do when it loads up. To me, Stunt Car Racer could have really benefited from having a similar intro where it plays some sort of cool music and shows you a little bit about what you're doing instead of just dropping you on the track.
Yeah.
So,
that wasn't. There is no. I'll give you that.
Right.
It shows you like this. There it is.
Oh yeah, that looks good. Put that up on the news scene there.
Okay. Oops, sorry, everybody. There we go.
So this is fantastic. The Buckeye Bulletin. So I guess this game takes place in Ohio.
Of course, because that's the birthplace of flight, you see.
Yes, I've heard that.
Yeah, no, but they have a fight with North Carolina about that.
Dude, I know.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah.
Not everyone knows that. No, it's not common knowledge.
Well, who is to say? But anyway, this looks cool. This looks great.
Yeah,
so
I thought it looked nice.
Thank you for pulling that up.
Now, you were saying.
Now, when you jump into the game, all the personality that was in the intro and in the documentation immediately falls away.
Oh, instant burial mode?
Because what you have is it looks like the salt flats over in Nevada where they test the fast cars. You get an environment where there's nothing on the ground other than some what do you call those things? Sort of pylons. That's a great word. So you've got your track that is laid out with parallel pylons, and you've got other planes that you're racing against, and then you have this mountainous background. Okay. Yeah. Now the color scheme will change as you move throughout, but if you're expecting to be racing in the middle of a city or on a seaside scape, sort of like an outrun type situation, you're going to be sorely disappointed with GB Air Rally.
This game reminds me of a game you might play on, what it reminded me of was something you might play on, like, say, the Atari 8-bits or something. It's got that sort of feeling where you're like, it's not like the 2600, but it's not 16-bit. It's somewhere in the middle.
Well, there are things about this that lead you to believe you're playing a 16-bit game. Probably the thing that you get the most of in this game is color. Not different kinds of color, but different shades of color.
Yeah.
There are gradients on everything. The plane is very well detailed. The 16-bit nature of this game shines through in the color, but that's it. Like you said, if you take away the color, and we'll see this when we look at the port comparison a little bit later, there's nothing that this game does in terms of scrolling, in terms of speed, that really screams at you saying, I'm playing this on a next generation machine.
It's got that ball blaster sort
ball
of thing.
Blazer.
Ball blazer, thank you. Ball blaster, a whole different game. But where it's got that pattern scrolling and it looks real smooth.
Right.
But listen, the thing about this is I played this game and I really liked it. I really liked it. I played, I was like, man, I was good at it. Now I was winning the races, I think. because one of the things you never know for sure, like you never really know where you're finishing.
Let's back up. What do you want out of a racing game? Okay, what I'd like to know is how I place at the end of a race.
So it wasn't just me. You don't know what place you're in. You don't know. I mean, you know how well you do point wise because you get a bonus point for all the seconds you don't use to finish the race. But you don't, like, there's always stuff in front of you. And even when you finish the race, all the other players just keep going down on their merry path.
They've somehow managed to regress even past pole position. Because in pole position, no matter where you are and what position you're in, you're always going to be passing cars, even if you win the race.
Right.
And so in this game, it's the same thing, except I can't tell you how dumb it is to have a rally game, a racing game. Now, I can understand maybe a rally game where you're on a single track and then you're not making loops. But this is a game that you're on a looped track and there's one lap. All these races are one lap. And when you complete the race, it says event complete. It ticks down your bonus score and then you immediately go right into the next race.
Yeah, or the bonus stage
or the bonus stage. Yeah.
So anyway, I liked this game at first. I was buzzing along. I think I was doing well.
Buzzing along. I see what you did there.
I was getting trophies. There's a little cutscene where you get a trophy, there's a hot flapper chick there, this mustachioed like dork that's giving you the trophy, and your guy's looking all manly. I thought that was cool. Then you fire it back up. The control scheme on this is unusual, but it actually works pretty well. When you go into because basically most of what you're gonna be doing is right and left turns. And when you do that, once you enter a turn, you can let go of the joystick and your play will keep turning. Right. And so to get it to stop turning, you have to pull it back to center and even go a little bit to the other way.
It almost kind of introduces a sort of a free-floating analog stick type control to a game like this.
The thing is, I actually like that. Yeah. It's because because you're hugging a lot of corners in this. Right. And as you get further into the game, and of course it's a lot tighter, then that helps you exponentially to keep your plane on the course. Because if you're doing it yourself, you have a tendency to kind of like lose where you're at. So I like that. But I was cruising along. I think it's every third level you get like a bonus level where you're like popping balloons, stuff like that. Which it was okay. You have a certain amount you have to pop in a certain amount of time. And then after that level, I think it's when you get your cutscene level. There are many other planes in the game. There are different colored planes. Every plane has sort of a solid color. The game has, it's a lot like a pole position or something where you tap another guy. Well, you don't blow up. You just sort of fender whack them or whatever.
I don't know. Did you ever play anything on the higher difficulty levels?
I played on every level.
Because that's the main difference is that you crash a lot easier on the higher difficulty levels.
It's not, even then, I was going through it pretty easy. Now, the only thing that throws me on the higher levels was, like I said, the course is thinner. They've actually moved the pylons closer together. And so you have to be real tight on those corners and stuff. And you actually have to, like on the early levels, you can just go throttle full out and just go. On the later levels, you have to adjust the throttle down as you go around certain areas. But and I did okay on the harder levels, but I was getting to the point now where I kept going off the course, you know. But the game, I think it's as smooth as it was. It does what it sets out to do well. All right. The engine on this is fine. It's not like the end all be all of games, but it's fine. The problem is this game shows you its entire hand of cards like the very first time you play the very first race. There's no level where there's barriers in front of you. There's no levels where you're shooting each other. There's no levels where you pick up a turbo or a special power or maybe go over a hill or try to fly through clouds. There's a million things you could do with a game like this.
It's funny because when you look at a game like this and you're me.
Oh, man, I don't like where this is going.
The first thing you think about is Pilot Wings. Because Pilot Wings is the only game that I can think of that gives you a plane controlled from this exact viewpoint.
Yeah.
Okay.
Someone mentioned that in Discord as well. I saw it.
And and when you play Pilot Wings, you're not racing. It's not a racing game, but you're doing all of those fun type things that you're talking about. Yeah. You're flying over mountains, you're flying through rings, you're taking off, and you're landing.
Yeah.
This game, it really would have been easy because they have these bonus games where you have to pop balloons or you have to weave through different things, or they reverse the pylons. It would have been easy for them to just kind of maybe make the racing part of the game a smaller part of the game and just introduce different sort of challenges that you can do that would actually involve you, I realize that you're sort of maybe limited with how high you can fly because of the engine, but there should have been other things that you could do besides just race, and they should have introduced things that you could do for extra points within the race. Like say you're racing, but then you get some extra bonus points if you go through this particular, ring or something like that. I would have liked to have seen that, and I would have liked to have the ability to land at the end of the race. At the end of the race, when you cross the finish line, you lose control of your plane and you just land and it says event over. I feel like they could have introduced some additional skill points by allowing you to land your plane.
I can think of a million different things you can do. By the way, I love Pilot Wings. I love that game.
Mm-hmm. I'm playing the N64 version right now. It's great.
Oh yeah, it's good too. You can't go wrong with Pilot Wings. But with all that, this is clearly far from that. But yeah, you're right. That's sort of the same feeling you get, except done way better. But this game, they left so much on the table here. Like I said, like Boat mentioned, they could have had more bonus stuff. You could put environmental stuff in here, rain, snow. What would have been fun? How about a pit? Yeah. That would have been fun. Maybe you had to go in there and tune the thing up or refuel or something. Maybe do more than one lap.
A mini game style type thing.
Pit Stop 2 had, you could have had something that wasn't just scrolling lines. The colors changed, but any sort of terrain would have been fun.
At the end of the day, this is what I think. Okay, this game comes to us from Activision, and this is not modern day largest company in the world, Activision. This is still that Atari 2600 company, Activision. Okay.
Yeah.
And I still think that they were still trying to make games with that same sort of 2600 mentality where you didn't have to put a lot of depth into a game. That combined with the fact that this is a 1987 Amiga release, there's not a lot of stuff out there for the Amiga, and this is probably one of the better releases that year.
Well, I tend to look at it very similarly. I would not be terribly surprised if this was a game that's like, okay, what we can release on multiple systems and we can get away with it, and for me, it's almost reminds me of like a bargain game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because they didn't put enough into it for me to think this would be. I would not want to pay $50 or whatever for this game.
No,
I would pay $10 for the game, maybe. Something else that would have been great. This is really any sort of multiplayer would have made this exponentially better. Mm-hmm. Now I don't know if they would have split the screen. But we know the Amiga can do it. Yeah. I don't know if they knew that in 1987. But any sort of split screen or any sort of like a null modem, I know, here we go. But I'm just saying, this would have been more fun with two people. At least you can ram each other. It's not like in Stuck Car Racer,
You have this cluster of gauges at the bottom of the screen that does nothing. Your throttle has two positions. It has like a half.
You can go middle.
Well, that's what I mean. Yeah. It's got two positions, halfway or all the way.
Yeah.
It just seems like this just seems like a half-baked effort.
Yeah,
all around.
It reminds me of a company that's trying to get their footing in the 16-bit world.
Yeah, and it would be interesting to know if this was Activision's first game for the Amiga. I don't know.
It's got to be. If it's not the first, it's got to be amongst the first. Mm-hmm. It's 87. And if this was a game that started on the Amiga and they and matriculated down to the other systems, maybe they were wanting something they didn't think they'd have much trouble cloning on the other machines.
I guarantee you they were thinking about that, because there were certainly a lot more C64s being sold in 1987 than Commodore Amigas.
Right. But of course, maybe they were just trying to cash in. Maybe they saw this. They saw it wouldn't be too difficult to port it up. You never know.
Rob has a great idea for two-player mode. One guy flies and the other guy's the wing walker.
There you go. Speaking of other ports of this, we did, just for fun, I lined up the ZX Spectrum release of this. And as Boat mentioned, it's not all that far off. Although whoever's flying this thing looks like they're heading to Tahiti. The ZX Spectrum is a capable machine of doing games like this. We've seen it before, and so this game is not. It's not beyond my ability to comprehend that they would probably clone this down, port it down as opposed to porting it up. But I mean, the Spectrum version looks pretty good to me.
The plane is very detailed, and there's no more detail on the ground than there is in the Amiga version.
And we should mention, aside from just the normal racing, there's also, and the balloon popping, there's also events where you have to work in and out of different colored cones or pylons. Those are just as fun as they sound. They're not, and the funny thing is, the other planes are doing it too. And the other planes don't have any personality, and they just roll along like in their pre-programmed path. I know it sounds like I'm asking too much for the game. Maybe I am, but I can see where a game like this, with a few minor tweaks, and they could have added anything to it. And here's something you don't hear about Amiga games that often. I wanted to mention this too before we close it up. This game's too easy. I mean, even on medium, it's too easy. You have to I had to put it on hard to have any sort of challenge.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's where you have to play it. You got to play it on hard. But I don't mind that. Give me any game that offers 3 levels of difficulty. I'm not gonna bash it. I guarantee you that you could not complete the whole circuit in hard mode.
Yeah, I'd be asleep. Hard, it'd be hard.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I don't have any qualms about the difficulty in this game. All the years
we've been doing this show, have we ever said something that was so incredibly easy? I don't think we've ever said that. I don't think it ever happened. That something was so easy that we complained about it. In terms of reviews, before we get to the Disco reviews, I'll give you the magazine slant on it. Lemon gave this a 6.57. For once, I think they're in the right ballpark. This game wasn't what I would call widely praised, even when it was released. Ace gave this a 679 out of 1,000, or 67%. Amiga Computing gives a 55. Commodore User, 8 out of 10. Info, 3 out of 5. The Games Machine, 63. Your Amiga, 82, for a combined average score of 67%. I don't think I don't think this is an F. I think there's a good game here. It's a fun game. But, I mean, it's a low effort, like you said, a low effort action. How do we do on the Discord on this boat?
We got our first review comes in from Lobsterminator. He says, a racing game in 3 dimensions. The basic idea is very fun. A normal racing game, except now you can also go over and under your opponents. Unfortunately, that's pretty much all the game offers. Compared to car racing, airplanes would really warrant crashes being more punishing. Instead, it felt more like flying bumper cars. As it is, you don't spend nearly enough attention to avoid the other planes. The simple controls fit the game, but it had a strange auto-steering in turns. I at first assumed it was only on the easiest difficulty, but no, it was even on Ace. It made the controls feel like they were not totally in your power, and it started to annoy me. On Novice, you can pretty much go full speed into the curves with little worry. On Ace, you really need to watch your throttle and also in speed, and it's very challenging right from the beginning. The game is decent, but they didn't incorporate the element of flying enough. It could have used some obstacles which you need to fly over or under, or something that really made you think about the height axis. My score gives a bit of slack because it's a pretty early Amiga game. It's worth a try if you've not played it. 7 out of 10.
There you go.
Benz writes, when I loaded this game up, I got strong Pilot Wings vibes. Me too. This is pretty simple air race fare though, with race levels punctuated with bonus stages. The game moves along at a reasonable clip without ever feeling that you are traveling at the suggested 250 miles per hour. This is not helped by a lack of ground detail whizzing past you to emphasize the speed that you are supposed to be traveling at. The ground is devoid of any detail save for the occasional posts you can find yourself heading into. I really like the idea of air racing. Having the ability to duck below and soar above opponents as well as side to side certainly adds something to the races. Sadly, each race is pretty short, being a single lap in length. The game also seems to have some sort of steer assist, which rather than helping is something that you find yourself fighting against. Overall, it's an interesting idea, and while the game is not terrible, there just isn't enough here to keep you interested for very long. Worth a look just for the parachuting pilot animation when you crash. 6 out of 10.
Great minds think alike. Because I was just sitting here thinking, I wonder what Activision released in the mid 80s, and Flack jumped in.
Bam!
So I looked to see what they had. So according to Flack here in the chat, 6 Amiga games in 86 and 4 in 87. So I was like, I wonder what they've got here. So just for fun, I looked. The Hackers.
Okay.
Those were coming up from the old machine. GBA Championship Basketball. You may remember that from the Amiga show, where that's the thing I did commentary on, which was god-awful. A horrible game. They also did a GFL Championship Football in '87.
And Thexter.
Yeah. Thexter's a mixed bag.
It's not a mixed bag.
Championship
it's
Golf,
a bad bag.
Championship Baseball. These are the ones that they published and probably had a hand in making. So you're looking at mostly stuff coming up from the stuff they could share with the 8-bit machines before they truly tried to put something together that would be a 16-bit exclusive. Companies probably were also testing the waters on this machine that cost a lot of money. There was not a whole lot of information about it. How many people are going to buy it? You don't know if the Amiga is going to be a hit in '87. So you could understand why they would be rather hesitant. But I would agree with the people in Discord. It sounds like they hated the steering more than I did.
Yeah, I didn't mind the steering. I thought it was kind of cool, like you said.
Yeah, so there you go. Live and learn, Boat. Good stuff, though. I recommend giving this a whirl, but expect to spend maybe 20 minutes on it, I'd say.
Let's move on to see what's been going on our YouTube channels this week.
Right on, brother. So we had just a couple releases this week, both. The first of which we'll talk about here is we just filmed this last week. It was I Asked the Amigos with special guest appearance from the Brent in the house. What'd you think of this one, Bo?
I had a lot of fun with this one. We did this before Amigos, which was weird. I'm used to finishing up the night with one of these, but there were some good questions. And it was nice having Brent's viewpoint on some of these things too.
That's never a good thing. That's never a good thing. And I will say, Bo, we should talk about this because we filmed this. The audio on this was real funky because we basically stuck a microphone out between the three of us. But we have upgraded. You want to talk about our upgraded sound?
Yeah.
This is a good time to talk about it.
So hopefully we sound better, or at least as good as we have in the past. We have upgraded our audio setup. Since pretty much we started the podcast, we've been using this thing called the Tascam 4x4.
It takes you to task.
It's an unending stream of hate in audio form.
Yeah.
We kept using it because it was what we bought. And but I told Aaron a couple weeks ago, I was like, Aaron, we've got to do better.
How many times have I complained about that thing?
Yeah, because you're constantly complaining, and then when I tell you how much new stuff costs, you're like, it's too expensive.
Well, I know, I'm cheap. That's the bad thing about me.
And I was like, Aaron, okay, we are going to spend some money, and we're going to buy this Rode Podcaster Pro. And I'll hold it up here.
Here, so let me put you on still store cam.
Okay.
Let me get the big screen. There you go. Oh God, you're gonna destroy the world. I can feel it.
What you got here? Let's see. We'll unplug it. Oh my gosh. Okay. There we go. It looks like this. This is you can see there's an LCD screen. We got 4 channels, which is the big thing. And even though the Tascam had 4 in, the channels 3 and 4 never worked.
You can't actually put anything in them. That thing sucked for that.
Yeah, and so that sucks. So we have 4 real XLR inputs. We have 4 headphone outs, which is we will need those when we do wrestling because it's impossible to hear each other when we're sitting across the table.
What made the decision for us is when it was time for me to sit down and interview Paparazzi.
That's right.
And when Paparazzi didn't have a microphone to use, and I told Butters, like, this shall not stand.
Right.
The Papa won't allow it. And so we had to upgrade.
And of course, you've got to have the soundboard.
You don't got to have this.
So, look for lots of annoying sound clips being mixed into the show near you. But yeah, this is it. This is the Rodecaster. We hope that our audio is good, and if not, we'll try and do better next time.
There you go. The only other thing we released this week, Boat, was myself and the Brent. We had a little thing it was just a week ago today, Boat. Isn't that amazing? It seems like 10 years ago. It was the Thanksgiving Marathon. Now, if you love to watch 7 hours of bickering, fiddling with controls, and generally wanting to punch each other, then that's available, and we'll get to that. But this on the Amigos channel is the 2-hour super cut. It's all grade A meat, brother. There's no filler in there. I cut out everything that was crap. All that's in there are wheel spins and gameplay and nothing else. If the game stunk, it's gone. If we couldn't get the controller working, it's gone. Things where things just didn't work right, gone. Everything gone. So if you want like 2 hours of power, then this is the show for you. You can watch me and Brett play a bunch of games, including the Kickstart or Kickoff 2. It's funny, someone chimed in on one of our videos that tell me that we should play sensible soccer. And I'm like, well, we have played it, but I'm filling them in. But anyway, me and the Brent, we had a good time on Thanksgiving last week. It went pretty smooth. I wanted to kill Brent, as Boat knows, but that's pretty much the way I usually feel about the Brent. So that's all we got on the main channel. We'll roll over to our sister channel here, the Amigos stream team. And here's the other part of that equation. This is the 7 hour and 3 minute. If you want to see everything, warts and all, I didn't want to deprive anyone of the 7 hours of me and Brent. So if you want to watch that, it's on the Stream Team channel. Pop over and check it out. The only other release this week on the Stream Team channel, it's our good friend, our good buddy. He's in the chat right now, Rob Flack O'Hara, and it's Sprite Castle time. And it's Sprite Castle playing Nintendo racing games. Boat. Now, some of these, it's funny because when I first started watching, I thought these were DOS games. I was like, man, these look 10 times better than I remembered. And then I was like, oh, it's the Super Nintendo. You've played a few Super Nintendo games in your day.
I played them all.
So, what is your amongst the ones he played here? Did you have a particular favorite?
Oh, I literally everything that I watched him play. I liked. He's playing Rock and Roll Racing right there. He played some Iron Man. I will say the one that I don't like, and I don't think he played this on stream, was the sequel to Ivan Stewart. It was called Super Off-Road Baja.
Yeah.
And it was one of these games that was the over-the-shoulder sort of perspective.
Yeah.
Sort of like a bad pole position where you're in a truck. It's no good. Avoid that one.
Now, isn't there there's a racing version of this sort of game too on the Super Nintendo, isn't there? It's an Indie Heat.
Oh yeah, Indie Heat
right?
is on there. There's a bunch of them. There's a bunch of the Super Nintendo, wide variety and lots of racing games to choose from. So
yeah.
Make sure you check out Rob's stream. Always a good time. Looks like he closed things out with a little bit of dungeon crawling.
This is the C64. I want to mention this because he played at the end. If you haven't seen it, this is the C64 version of Eye of the Beholder.
I heard that this was a big deal.
We've been hearing about it for a while. Well, it's listen, I know you like to rag on the C64, but I'm telling you, someone went bananas because I played Eye of the Beholder.
It looks incredible.
They did a great job, including all the cutscenes and all the cool lead up. I always like the opening of this. I mean, they did a good job, dithering it down to the C64, and the gameplay looks good.
Way down.
Now, get this, Boat. Here's something I heard Flack mention. You can actually, if you've got a C128, you can hook up a second monitor to it, and that monitor does nothing but show you the map.
Wow. That's super cool.
See, look at him. And he hates everything about role-playing games, but he's in.
I love that.
And if you have just a regular C64, just hit the M button, map. Bam. Got to have the map. So listen, they didn't just make this thing, they improved it. Two
Is this one of the gold box games? I always hear people talking about those.
No, I don't think this was considered in the gold box series. But I mean, this is what I played on the PC and on the Amiga. I was a big fan of this one. Now, Flack did run into some weird issues.
Don't talk about his wife that way.
Oh, would you stop that? Not her. She makes a special guest appearance there. I don't know if it was still a work in progress or whatnot, but it seemed like it was running pretty well to me. It's got the mouse support. Not bad, eh?
For mouse?
That's
on
right.
The C64?
Yeah.
Crazy.
So, hey, listen, we live in a modern age, Boat, where they can do this kind of crap. So there you go. That's all we've got in terms of the Vigilers, my friend.
All right. Well, it's time to talk about what's coming up on next week's show. Aaron, next week is our final normal show of the year.
Then they get abnormal.
Then we're going to be doing a little bit of Christmas. And then we're going to be doing a little bit. Oh, no, that's not true. Maybe we have two shows.
Yeah, I think.
But I don't know. I don't know what I got confused by.
We'll figure it out. There'll be more shows coming. That's for sure.
Listen, we're gonna have another show next week and every week after that.
I want to. Since we're talking about Christmas, we've got this Amigos Christmas Secret Santa thing, and all of a sudden, it just got announced, right? And the next day, suckers are getting their stuff.
Yeah.
I haven't even shopped yet. I feel like a total stooge.
I'm sending mine out tomorrow.
How are they doing it? How are they doing that? I can't figure it out.
Well, a lot of times you go shopping when you're out and you see something and you're going to do Secret Santa, you pick it up.
See, I'm too cheap to do that.
I've got all my Secret Santa gifts for the next 10 years.
Well, also I like to tailor my gifts depending on who I get picked. Because for example, I'm not going to send you if I got say Boat. I'm not going to be like, hey Boat, Boat loves a C-64 air combat simulators. I was load them up, because you'd be like, like one time I got a dude, the Bard's Tale, the original Bard's Tale. Like, you wouldn't want that.
No.
See, so I like to tailor the
That's
stuff.
good, man. You're all heart.
Well, that's not what I mean. I'm not trying to put myself over here, but I'm just saying I never think about it during the year. It's too hard for me.
So, what are we going to play next week, Aaron?
You were just waiting for me to shut up, weren't you? Let's see, Bode. Even I don't remember.
Blitz Bombers.
Blitz Bombers. It's just the PD game.
That's right. It's Public Domania.
Ooh.
It's back. It was too much to do there's too much info with these games. We're cutting down to one PD game per cycle.
That's not really true, is it?
Yeah.
About the too much info.
Listen.
There's never any info on these.
Well, we make the info.
Maybe we can find the guy. Remember that one time we've had a couple of the guys, the Hangar 18, the Alien Fishbreaker, those guys found us.
Right.
That was cool.
And so we're going to be playing, this is, you love Bomberman. And this is a Bomberman homage, as it were.
Oh, man. Did you see me play Bomberman during the Thanksgiving Marathon?
Yeah.
It didn't go too good.
Well, you were playing a dumb version, so I don't
You think this
entirely
one's better?
blame you. I hope so.
Me too.
That thing was awful. So,
It's a burial.
we hope that you will join us next week for Blitz Bombers. Make sure you mark your calendars for February 18th, Amigathon 2023. And we are going to close out with the Haunting Love theme.
It's not from Green Acres, though.
of GB Air Rally, as we thank all of our patrons. If you want to support the show, patreon.com/Amigos podcast. We'd love to have you. And we want to salute all of our patrons and our Twitch supporters as we play the closing theme. We'll see you guys next week. And until then,
Adios.